This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans. Welcome to The Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And before we get into today's podcast, got to make an announcement. Our sports movie bracket has reached the Sweet 16. The links are up on our Facebook, Twitter, below wherever you're listening
And I
to
believe this time there's only one link. So
yes, there's only one link.
No
this
more
time
confusion.
There's no two, it's only one.
Just go to that one link, fill it all out, unlike who knows who that person was who only filled out one single game.
One question.
And that was
one
it.
question.
He did not continue. Don't know how that worked.
But that link is up. The Sweet 16 had some surprises. Go check that out either in the description of this podcast or on our Facebook and Twitter. Also, check out our Patreon page. The link should be down below in this podcast. And Mark, we talked about mock drafting last week. We came up with our 1.0. Well, Todd McShay had his 4.0 come out. Actually, it was yesterday that he came out with this. And to much surprise, and by much surprise, I mean me, Marcus Mariota jumped from 6 to 2. The Titans are going to go quarterback now.
It's interesting because it's not really the biggest surprise that he's taking number 2 because, quarterback league. But to the Titans, a team we all know is not going to take a quarterback. Now, with this being said, of course, all mock drafts until like the week before pretty much go by the rule of no trades.
Yeah.
So this makes sense in that case.
Well,
but to the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I mean, you say the rule of no trades, but Todd McShay said it in his description that he thinks the Titans have one of 3 options that they have to do. Number 1, you just take Mariota because he's the best man available.
Also, you don't have a quarterback.
Zach Mettenberger is not the greatest quarterback, so exactly, you need a quarterback. 2, you can accept a trade offer and move back, probably from like the Jets or Rams that want to move up. Or 3, you take defensive end out of Southern California, Leonard Williams.
Or option 4, take the worst part of your team, give it to Philadelphia. There you go. Because that's how you can do it with Sam Bradford. They'll give you like 3 first-round picks while they're at it.
Just to get Marcus Mariota.
Hey, man,
if they
mortgage that future.
If they gave away Nick Foles for Sam Bradford.
Just imagine what they're willing to do for Marcus Mariota. They'll be like, you know what? Pick your favorite 5 players. You can have them.
And to me, I mean, you will never convince me otherwise. From now until the draft, even 50 years after this draft is done, I am going to be convinced that Marcus Mariota is the quarterback. He shouldn't be going number 2, Mark. Should be going number 1.
But are you saying now,
should be going number 1.
50 years down the line, we're playing hypothetical here, so don't question the situation. But Marcus Mariota, first game, first snap, ACL injury, and then retires. Jameis Winston, Hall of Famer. You're still saying should have been taken number 1 overall.
Okay, well maybe if boom, that's probably not going to happen.
Killed your extreme example.
I'm just making a point here. Yeah. To me, I feel like it was like I'm watching PTI today.
I just want to bust your chops.
Yeah, I was watching PTI today, and it was I can't remember. Someone was filling in for Wilbon, and it was him and Kornheiser. They're talking about Jameis Winston's pro day, where apparently he threw really well. Some people made fun of him for still being
a big-looking guy.
Still being a little chubby.
He's got what I like to call a power belly. There's a lot of power in that belly.
But I'm still and I totally agree with the camps that say, like, that Jameis Winston, he's immature, he makes bad decisions. Sometimes he even shows us that, hey, sometimes I don't do the brightest thing, even on the football field. To me, if I'm Lovie Smith, I'm saying that's too much for me. I'm going to go in a different direction. And one of the best comparison I can put it to is look at Johnny Manziel. Going into the draft, how immature he is. Well, this past season, he was a little better than he was in college, but he still showed us that he's immature. And immaturity is something that doesn't just change overnight, and Jameis Winston's immature.
I think that actually Johnny Manziel, I want to give the credit for Johnny for starting off really, really well. He did really, I mean, I guess not exactly starting off.
He was
but
down by how many against the Bills? No pressure?
Well, no, I'm saying for Johnny Manziel, he, like, maturity-wise, he handled himself very well going in. But... And actually, I guess you would say it's a very mature move now to enter yourself into rehab.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to admit that.
No, and that's what I'm saying. But, however...
For Jameis Winston, I don't know if those are... It's hard to make that comparison just because you don't, especially now. In the light of Johnny Manziel now, we don't know if those same issues exist with Jameis Winston.
Here's the big point I'm making. Maturity doesn't happen overnight. With Johnny Manziel, it took an entire rookie season to mature... Even you can call this a little bit, you can call it a big bit, whatever you're calling it. It took an entire season for him to mature to the fact that this is the Johnny Manziel that we're going to see coming into his sophomore season in the NFL is the Johnny Manziel that we probably would have liked to see coming in rookie year.
We hope. Yeah. I mean, we still got to wait and see on that. But to talk about, for this one, I do agree that Jameis Winston probably, like, off the field issues, you're a little concerned. But to me, it's interesting with these two quarterbacks because you have, what are you more comfortable with? Off the field issues or on the field, not so translatable, hope for the best. Because that's really what you come down to. And I'm not criticizing either one, really. It's just a matter for coaches, what do you want to deal with? Do you think, you know what, we have a secure system in place, we think we can handle this guy, we can keep him in check? Or is it, hey, we got somebody who can go in front of this guy, or even just I trust my coach to rein this person in on the field?
And I think I might have said this before. You know what's the one thing I can't help but think about? Why in God's name would a guy like Lovie Smith, who when he was here in Chicago, there were times where it's like, oh, Lovie, you want this guy? Oh, no, I don't want him. He's not good. He's not a good locker room presence. He's going to be a bad character in the locker room. Why are you even drafting James? Why are you even thinking about drafting Winston then?
It didn't work in Chicago, I guess.
If you are totally like, you know what? He's not good for the locker room. He's not a good presence for the locker room.
I don't necessarily think it's that he's not a good presence for the locker room. I mean, I think...
a guy who makes bad decisions?
Yeah, but I think everybody in Florida State liked him, didn't they? Didn't people in Florida State like him?
Well, they won games.
They win games, so that probably helps.
And that's the bottom line. Everyone in Florida State loved him because he won games. Everyone outside of Florida State hated him because of his decision-making.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this in the future. I mean, I really think when it comes down to it, it is a question of, we know Ricky's answer, and my answer is the opposite. Not necessarily the opposite of Ricky's, but for me, I just don't believe Marcus Mariota is going to translate well enough. And I don't think besides Russell Wilson, taking him out of the equation, none of these mobile quarterbacks are really doing anything that well. And I'm even a Cam Newton fan.
To me, I'm gonna meet you halfway. If I was a team that needed a quarterback and you told me you get to choose one of them, I would have to choose Mariota, but I wouldn't be super happy about it because, like you said, the whole mobile thing, if it seems like every year teams are figuring it out more and more. And however, though, the one thing I do think about with Mariota is the one thing that he has that you can't teach. You can't say, hey, you got to work on this. It's just something that you have, that head on your shoulders. He's a smart football player. And like I've said before, that game we saw against Ohio State, it was a fluke. It was, the way I see it, it was the big moment. Honestly, I'm a Cubs fan. I'm going to say it. It was curse of the Ducks. Ducks get to the championship game, they fall apart. Did it against Auburn. I mean, it's a closer game in that one when Chip Kelly was still there. Yeah. But it's like they get to the championship game, and then it's like their offense just doesn't know how to do what they did all season.
Those lights start shining, and they get a little scared. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I don't want to dwell on the quarterbacks too much. The one thing I will say for Mariota, though, don't believe he goes to the Titans. The Titans do need a quarterback. I don't think they're willing to address it in this draft. So I actually... Unless somebody trades, I do think somebody might trade, but I think someone's going to...
The Rams.
The Rams could do it. They're probably the team that makes the most sense.
The Rams.
Because somebody has to jump above the Jets. Because in our mock draft, yes, we had Washington taking Mariota, but probably not going to happen. But
in the end,
you got to get above the Jets.
Here's what I think will happen, and I got one more thing to say about Winston before we move on, is the Rams are probably going to move up, trade with the Titans, and they're probably going to take Amari Cooper or Leonard Williams. But the last thing I will say about Jameis Winston is they said it on PTI today, and I agree 110%. The Buccaneers, when they're thinking about drafting Winston, it's not one of those things where and this is going to be a bad example, but I'm going to say it. When Elway was drafted, you knew Elway was going to be a great quarterback. This is wishful thinking. Wishful NFL draft thinking where I hope he pans out.
Yeah. I will say, in the grand scheme of things, when you really think about it, I think, and people can disagree with me on some of this, but I think you really have 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks that were that from Elway onward. Being like Elway, Peyton Manning. You want to throw Eli Manning in there, feel free.
Would you throw Cam Newton in there? He's not a Super Bowl winner, but...
No, I think there was doubts about Cam Newton when he was coming in. And then, of course, Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck for sure.
But, I mean, when you really look, I mean... I would put all those guys in the same category of like the type of quarterback. And Jameis Winston, he's got arm talent. You know, he's got so much arm talent,
his head.
Which is really...
It's his head.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the one, the knock that is for most of these coaches. But I don't know.
And the one thing that sucks about it's the one thing you can't teach. The one thing you can't teach, the one thing you can't say, hey, this is how you get better. It's just something that
But I will say,
just happens.
It is something you can work around. You can build your system and your offense to make this work out.
I'm talking as a player standpoint. You can mature, but the one thing I'm just going to say, well, there's 2 things coming into this mock draft that me and Mark kind of sit here going, hey, we told you so. The first one was last week, one of our dear friends who used to be on the podcast, Dave Oster, was talking to him about our mock draft, and he's like, you know what? Jacksonville would never go with a wide receiver because we had him going with Kevin White. Less than a week later, Todd McShay says Amari Cooper going to Jacksonville.
Yep. And I like it. Not the wide receiver we picked.
Well, and
we had Kevin White instead.
Well, here's the big thing, and to me, personally, I would put Amari Cooper ahead of Kevin White because it's kind of a tricky thing of how they flipped. Amari Cooper is the more NFL ready wide receiver, but Kevin White is so damn quick.
Yep.
And that is, I mean, if you want to go Al Davis thinking,
oh yeah,
he's damn quick,
quick and tall.
He's really quick.
I mean, not that 6 feet tall Amari Cooper is short, but add 2 inches on there, and for wide receivers, 2 inches makes a big deal.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. And that's kind of foreshadowing something going a little later in this draft of a team that loves tall receivers.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing, and the reason why I love either if it's Cooper or if it's White and Jacksonville doing this is it shows them and it tells Blake Bortles, hey, we're here to give you help. We're going to give you a guy that can be your number 1 receiver that our plan is for the next 50 years. It's not going to be that long, but just roll with me. Bortles and Cooper, or Bortles and White, whoever it is. That is the tandem. So when the onside kick talks next year about the greatest quarterback wide receiver tandems, we're probably talking Bortles Cooper.
Oh yeah,
that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
that's what they should do.
It's good too because a lot of these teams we've seen in 2 or 3 years past where you get these younger quarterbacks and they're not really working out, but you're not sure, and it's still we're giving you weapons. And I think for Jacksonville, they're saying, yeah, we have other things we need to build on now, but now you have a weapon. We don't have to worry about this later because we're giving this to you now, then we can build the rest. So that way you two can gel together, so that way when we do get that defense for you next year or in 2 years, offense is already worked out.
I got a question for you. Number 4.
Yeah.
Todd McShay has Leonard Williams, and if that was the case, Raiders go with Khalil Mack last year, beef up the linebacking core. Now they're going to go Leonard Williams, beef up that defensive line. However, if you're Oakland, do you take Williams, or does the ghost of Al Davis slip in and you go, Kevin White's still available?
Yeah.
Take the fastest guy on the board.
It's really a tough decision. You do like having that. I mean, it's the same exact situation. There really is not too much different between Jacksonville Jaguars and the Oakland Raiders in the sense of young quarterback, both rebuilding teams. So let's get a weapon in this case. I do think. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that the Raiders really have that much better of a defense than Jacksonville did. And we are talking about teams that went 3-13. But,
to be honest, though, Khalil Mack was a bright spot to that Oakland defense.
Yes. And then to continue building, I mean, you have something in the linebacker core. If you can get a great player also in the defensive front and the defensive line, you're thrilled in this case.
Then next year, hopefully, you're just a little bit later in the draft. Maybe, and then you can get a corner.
Yeah, exactly. Grab somebody for the secondary in that case. Now you have a great player in all three positions who can lead all three positions, which is nice. And then you can be a strong defense.
Because to me, when I think of Raiders, maybe because I think of the old Raiders, I think of that defense that's just going to hit you in the mouth each and every play.
And I mean, this might just be a little hometown bias coming in, but if I've learned anything, it's that stay true to your roots.
Yeah.
You know, you don't change what you are. Hey, if you're the Oakland Raiders, be defense.
The Bears, and you're saying stay true to your roots as we're here in Chicago, the Bears went to the Super Bowl when they had one of the best defenses in the NFL.
And arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks at throwing it deep.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to bring up Sexy Rexy.
He phenomenal at just unleashing the dragon.
Just because you like to unleash the dragon, Mark.
Sometimes you just got to unleash the dragon.
You just got to say F it, I'm going deep, right?
Yeah. You know, the thing about, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you saw two beautiful quarterbacks out there, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. I really should have put
behind the all-hail Goodell, as I say sarcastically.
The big head in the sky here. Really, I should have taken those out and just put the dragon being unleashed by Sexy Rec, throwing it to Bernard Berrien. Just throwing it
Musa Muhammad.
Just unleashing. But to get to, you know,
let's actually
the presence.
We're so close to the Bears. Before we get to the Bears, I want to touch one thing.
Yeah.
And that is, well, it's kind of 2 for 1. One, Dante Fowler going to the Redskins. Then Randy Gregory, another one. Hey, guys, guess what? We called it. He's going to drop. He dropped to the Jets and Todd McShay's 4.0.
Yeah, the Jets really bummed out. I think both these teams might be a little bummed out that they don't have the option to take one of the quarterbacks.
See, and the one thing that I find funny, too, is the Jets, Todd McShay right away. Yeah, I got up taking Gregory, but they could take Kevin White. So that's 2 teams that could take Kevin White.
Now, to be fair in this situation, though, there's not... I mean, Geno Smith is whatever, but you can't really go for the wide receiver if you don't really have that quarterback.
No,
yeah, it doesn't really work, so definitely go defense.
Plus, for the Jets, you just signed a guy who's a defensive-minded head coach. His main focus is going to be that defense. The most interesting top 10 pick of McShay's 4.0, though. Now I want to get your opinion, because you're a Bear guy. I was shocked. I tweeted you right away when I found out this was the pick. Kevin White. The Bears are going to replace Brandon Marshall with the 7th overall pick. They're going to go away from Danny Shelton.
Yeah, it's interesting. First of all, I like tall and fast. I will say that. I am happy about tall and fast.
But do you need to replace Brandon Marshall now?
Yeah, we don't. But there's one thing I will get into, but I will also say when it comes to people, of course, are saying Alshon Jeffrey, we're fine. I think we are being a little overly optimistic at the moment about Alshon Jeffrey because we don't know yet. We're just kind of saying, yes, he was great in the number 2 role. He will be fine in number 1. We don't know for sure. We do have to wait and see.
I feel like Alshon will be fine. The one reason why I think McShay made this pick, and he kind of talks about it, it's not about Alshon. It's about Marquise Wilson.
Who we don't know about either.
Can Marquise Wilson be the number 2 on the opposite side of Alshon?
Because the thing that the Bears have is Eddie Royal probably sitting, well, he's in the slot. Marquise Wilson, we're hoping. But, I mean, Alshon Jeffrey, I do think we need to take a step aside to just say he did benefit from Brandon Marshall always having the double team because who else is Jay Cutler going to throw to? And most of his plays that we all talk about are the freakish ones. Yeah. So we do have to remember that. But, yeah, it mostly is about we don't know who else is back there. I don't think the Bears need it, though, because for the Chicago Bears, The defense is miserable. It fell apart completely.
Well,
You've made some good signings, but
I feel
nothing spectacular.
I still feel like the way to go is Danny Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
Get the guy, and maybe it's because, like I've said before, I'm an Illinois fan. I saw earlier this season what Danny Shelton can do to, I mean, Illinois' run game wasn't that great, but what he can do to an opposing offense where our offense was just shut down that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't all him. Shaq Thompson was good as well. But when you got a big guy clogging up some holes there, you got to take. That's what I feel. You got to.
I mean, the Bears don't really have a great person to play the nose right now, and I think, your other option, of course, around here would be, maybe like a guy like Shane Ray or something like that. Which the Bears don't need linebackers right now. Not that the linebacking positions are fantastic, but it's overcrowded with kind of mediocre level players. But I think for the Bears, and you can see it with a lot of the, they didn't make a big splash in the first week of free agency, or you can call it the first round of free agency. The second and third rounds are when they're really doing it, and they're getting a lot of one-year deal type of guys. They're getting a lot of transition players. So when you're in this transition mode, you don't want to go out there and be like, all right, we're going to get these big weapons. What you want to do is you want to get the guys who are going to be rocks on the team. So build up that defense, get that defense solid, so that way next year's draft or 2 years, from now's draft, that's when you go get that great wide receiver, something to really help out that quarterback that you have, whether it's Jay Cutler or not. We'll have to wait and see, but you just kind of have to play the long game right now.
And for the next two picks, 8 and 9, Todd McShay has the Falcons and the Giants staying true to what he had in the last one. Shane Ray at 8, Brandon Sheriff, offensive tackle from Iowa, at 9. The next difference that he has, he had the Rams going with Amari Cooper in the last one. Well, Cooper and White are off the board, so he says, hey, they still need a wide receiver. Next available guy, Devontae Parker. And because of that, it
still hurts.
Well, it's not that it hurts. It's the Vikings pick. And if you're new to the podcast, I'm a Vikings fan, even though me and Mark are here in Chicago. And I kind of feel like he's got, at 11, the Vikings going with La'el Collins, offensive tackle, can play offensive guard from LSU. I know he's versatile, and I know we need to protect Teddy Bridgewater, but I don't know. I feel like no matter if Devontae Parker goes before the Vikings, after the Vikings, I still feel like Zimmer's going to go with Trey Waynes out of Michigan State because he's a defensive guy.
Yeah, and that's a solid pick.
We took Anthony Barr last year, and before his injury, Anthony Barr was looking pretty good. And it was one of those things where, okay, I'm happy with him. We can work with him. I feel like next it's that secondary where we got to target, and
which you got a lot of wide receivers you're going up against.
I know, and it's kind of like looking at two big needs. Going, what do we want more? Do we want to stop you from scoring, or do we want to keep up with you? And to me, I don't know. The last time the Vikings went with a big offensive lineman was Matt Khalil. But that was the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah, and that was,
I believe, 3rd or 4th. I think it was 3rd. We traded back to 4, so Cleveland could get Trent Richardson. That was that trade.
One thing I want to say about this whole situation,
and Collins jumping up 29 to 11 from
it is a
3 to 4.
Pretty big jump. The thing about La'el here, though, related to Superman, so it's a solid pick in this case. But to talk about Parker. I don't know how I feel about this.
You're talking about Devontae.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this pick for the Rams. Although they do need wide receiver, for sure.
You know what? It's just...
You need an offensive line more. And I think if you have... They don't have an offensive line, essentially. They're losing all these pieces to it.
Hey,
if you have La'el Collins...
Nick Foles can make it work.
Well, he is the second coming of Peyton Manning, who's still not out of the league yet. Nick
Foles can make it work. If they had Sam Bradford, I would say... Go with Collins,
but
go with an offensive
literally
tackle.
Do not have an offensive line. So I feel like for them, if you're going to have La'el Collins coming up that much,
Foles will find him.
You need just one more pickup is what I think.
Foles will find him. That's what I feel. If they had Sam Bradford,
when you got under 3 seconds, I disagree. Under 3 seconds.
Even after this, he has the Browns at 12 going with who I think the Bears should have gone with, Danny Shelton.
Which, yeah, I think if you're the Browns in this case, you're thrilled.
You're like, great. We don't have to go wide receiver. We can pick up a guy like Danny Shelton, put him right in the middle, and be just a nice defensive front. I mean, Vic Beasley still got him going to the Saints. He's got Perriman going to the Dolphins. Here's the interesting one for me. Houston, Green Beckman.
Yeah.
Or Green Beckham, I should say. I'm sorry. Wide receiver out of Missouri.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to replace Andre Johnson in a situation here.
Do you have to replace him in the first round?
Probably not, especially because there's a lot of wide receivers that went. Like, when you're getting Beckham here, it's not like you're getting the top tier guy anymore. Like, you're back a tier now. So I think you're wasting a little bit, to be honest. I think there are other picks you could make that would be better. Especially, the defense of the Houston Texans is really the strength. I honestly would feel tempted to continue building upon that defense. Just make it rock solid for what really was great about the Texans. Because let's remember, the Texans had Matt Schaub out there.
Yeah.
As a quarterback position
now
for a while.
He's
hanging out in Baltimore.
He's going to be the backup for the Ravens. But so far, we're already down to this is the 16th pick in the draft. A lot of wide receivers going for Todd McShay is Cooper.
I think
White,
it's too much.
Parker. Perryman, if you were like, I don't even know who that is, Ricky, wide receiver out of Central Florida, going to the Dolphins. So he's basically saying that the Dolphins are like, we traded Wallace away. Let's replace him.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think it's too many wide receivers because at 16 and Perriman was he's 14. You're not getting value out of these
It's
picks.
like Todd McShay put for the Perriman analysis. We haven't had him going this early in our previous mocks. Why then?
Yeah, if the player is at that talent level, that's fine.
He's got good ball skills, and McShay says he's got speed, but I still think that,
there's just better players available.
Yeah, and I still feel like the Dolphins got to go corner. I feel like defense for a lot of these teams is where to go.
When we're talking about the Dolphins here, Trey Waynes was there. He was available.
That's a great corner.
So it's a situation in here where it doesn't make sense.
I hope he's not there so the Vikings can take him.
Yeah.
That's what I really hope.
Ricky, I'm sorry, man. I think April 30th you might be disappointed here. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me why so many I guess it's just a run. You have all these teams going, oh man, we need a wide receiver. We need it now. Let's just find it wherever we can, which is never the correct way to draft. It doesn't work out well.
Okay, next question I got for you has to do with the 17th overall pick for Todd McShay's 4.0 mock draft.
Yeah.
You are the Chargers. You're on the clock. You're going to draft a running back. That is for sure. You have made up your mind. Who do you take? Melvin Gordon out of Wisconsin, Todd Gurley, Georgia.
I'm a gambler, Ricky. I'm going to go with Todd Gurley. I'm going to take just the fantastic talent and athletic abilities that Todd Gurley has, and I'm going to ignore that ACL. I think he's going to be fine. I love the power. I love his speed. He's going to be a fantastic complement to Phillip Rivers. Not that Melvin Gordon couldn't be, but I really like what Todd Gurley can do.
So you're hoping he can be the second coming of Marshawn Lynch.
Well, yeah, that would be great. But I'm also hoping that he can Adrian Peterson this thing and just be fine. Ignore that ACL injury. Let's pretend it never happened.
See, I don't know. I feel like, to me, maybe it's because, if Todd Gurley never has the ACL injury, he's a top running back by far. And to me, the one thing, I'll be honest, that scares me about Todd Gurley is that ACL injury. Because, like we've talked about before, not many people can just AP it.
Yeah.
Can just say, you know what? I'm going to tear my ACL. I'm going to be back day one next season, giving it all I got.
Conspiracy theorists think he did it on purpose just because he wanted the award.
And then I'm going to break, I'm going to come close to breaking the all-time rushing record right after I tore my ACL.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And that whole situation still isn't even solved yet about what's going on with Adrian Peterson. But yeah, I think Todd Gurley, he has a higher upside It also has more downside because the ACL injury could be more of a detriment than we know.
He's got more potential because of what he was before the ACL injury.
Exactly.
He was the best running back in college football.
So we'll have to see.
He was a clear Heisman finalist.
But I think in this case, for me, that's how it is. Number 1 and number 2. Gordon's the second running back. But you're not wrong on whichever pick you make if you're the Chargers in this situation, I don't think.
However, though, I am, as a Vikings fan, kind of, even though I feel like the Chargers should draft Melvin Gordon because I like him better, me being a Vikings fan, I kind of hope that they draft Gurley, because to me, the only other team that's even going to think running back is the Dallas Cowboys.
And I think they're really going to think it.
They could. However, McShay has him going in a different direction. And let's say we get out of the first round without Gordon going. Mm-hmm. If I go down the next teams, Tampa's going to look defense in the second round. Tennessee's not going to go running back. Jacksonville's not. The Raiders might, but they'll probably say, you know what, it's too high. The Redskins don't have to. The Jets really don't have to. They might. Bears got Forte. Falcons are an iffy one. The Giants just signed Vreen. The Rams have Trey Mason. There's a possibility Melvin Gordon could fall to the 11th overall pick in the second round, right to my Vikings. And the Vikings could go, hey, you know what? This Adrian Peterson situation's a little bit messy. Let's just take him for an insurance thing. And I know what Vikings fans are thinking. This is me because I love Melvin Gordon. I know we have Asiata. I know we have McKinnon. I know that Norv Turner loves McKinnon. I know Asiata said that he could be the next AP for the Vikings, and we all laughed at him. It's probably not going to happen, but it could.
I want to ask you a question about running backs real quick. Do you think a team that does need a running back,
like the Chargers and the Cowboys?
Well, yeah, but I'm actually gonna throw somebody else out there. It's not their strongest need.
Okay.
They're a team that was burned before. Do you think they try and fix the wrong that was Trent Richardson and the Browns take a running back? Do you think they might do it?
Oh, that's a toughie. That is a really tough one.
Because they won the Trent Richardson debacle when they got rid of him to the Indianapolis Colts. Mm-hmm. But, of course, they lost the whole situation. That was a big bust for them. It's a position they need. It's not their highest need, but it's a decent position that you need.
I don't know.
And you don't have a quarterback. It does make a quarterback who's not so good look better when you have a running back.
I kind of feel like I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Because I kind of feel like for one more season, you can get away with a guy like Cromwell. I feel like for one more season, and I know we've talked about in other podcasts that there are other running backs that you could go later. To me, none of them are, okay, we're going to start right away.
Yeah, for sure.
Day one guys, and I'm pulling up the running backs.
They're going to be committee guys, essentially. Yeah. What you're going to have if you get one of these guys.
But I mean, we got some guys that are probably coming out where, and the big one that I look at, because to me, I don't think the Browns are going to be, the Browns are not going to be as competitive as they were last season. Well, early on last season.
I mean, the Browns don't even know what's going on at the quarterback position. It's hard to be competitive when you're going in still not knowing what's going on here.
Here's what I think you do at the running back position if you're the Browns. You either go with Amir Abdullah, who is another, of course, he's a Big Ten guy. I love my Big Ten running backs, but kid out of Nebraska. Yeah, he's 5'8", he's a little smaller, 205. He's the third best running back in this draft. Either you try to snag him in the second round, or you say, you know what, I'm content with waiting because guess what running back could come out next year?
Who's that, Ricky?
The crop top. Who wore the crop top for OSU? Ezekiel
I
Elliott.
hate those things.
Ezekiel Elliott.
He is incredible. Incredible.
And I mean, if the Browns do suck enough this year,
What they very well might.
and that would be even a more Trent Richardson-like scenario, because let's say they're a top 5 team going to take another running back in the top 5.
Here's the problem,
I
though.
think they get scared at that, though.
Crop top's no longer allowed. In
No,
the
it's
NCAA.
not.
But I want to say one thing for the Browns, though. They lost a lot. I mean, just before the last draft, you lost the wide receiver. You lost a tight end this coming year. You don't know what's going on with your quarterback situation. Running back's not the best. I think in the first round, since you do have 2 picks, you kind of have to address one of these. I think it would be wrong to go offense with both picks. You can't do that because your offense is not going to be good enough.
I
think that's the wrong way to go. But I think you should spend one of these picks on an offense.
I see, and I was going to go in a different direction, because I kind of like Todd McShay's second pick, where he has him going offensive tackle, because no matter who your quarterback is, you gotta make sure he's not on his back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that is the kind of long play in that case of, let's get somebody who will help out the future quarterbacks, stand on his feet. But I mean, a running back can help him stand on his feet too, if you have somebody who is an actual threat, where teams are going to be saying, all right, we can't just blitz your quarterback and blow through your line. Of course, if your line's not good, you can get to the quarterback with 3 or 4 guys anyways. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's the move they make. I think they have to go offense somehow, and wide receiver's not right because you don't have somebody to throw in the ball. And you don't know when you're going to get someone to. Yeah. Tight end's the same thing. Offensive line or running back, I think, are decent. It's a little early for a running back, so they're probably not going to get one. But
here's a thing that I want to throw out there, because I was just looking at an article on fanside.com, who we've referenced before on the podcast. They had an article which was a slideshow. It was like the top potential need for all 32 teams in the NFL. And for the Browns, they had offensive weapon. If we take that and say, okay, that's their top need, let's just, for the sake of argument, say it is.
Yes.
At 19, do you think, and we'll throw the Chiefs in there too, because we've had them going with running backs in previous mock drafts, do you think either the Chiefs or the Browns at 18 or 19 go, well, shoot, Green Beckham went at 16. We need a wide receiver. Let's go and take Jalen Strong.
Yeah, I think that's the wrong move. Because once again, you're falling into the pattern that everyone else is in this scenario, that
wide
they're
receiver?
drafting too much. Yeah, because I think if you could have gotten Devonta Parker at 12, you're thrilled. But otherwise, you're going too early for that. I think that's in that situation. I don't want a tight end in this case. If I want an actual weapon, I am going to go running back. Because that's the best value I think you can get. So
do you think the Browns do go Melvin Gordon?
I don't think they will, but I think they should highly consider it.
Because to me, I mentioned Jalen Strong. Todd McShay has him actually going in the first round this time, going to the Baltimore Ravens at 26. To me, I love that move. Because what's one wide receiver the Ravens lost this offseason?
Which one did they lose now? Because they lost Torrey Smith before.
Boom, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
They lost Torrey Smith this offseason. You got to replace him with a guy that can. And Jalen Strong has the same exact ability that Torrey Smith had. Just take the ball deep.
Yeah, and
a 6'2" wide receiver.
Funny thing about Baltimore, that I guess they chase wide receivers away. Wide receivers that every offseason so far, the Baltimore Ravens will lose somebody. So in this case, at least you're saying, hey, we got somebody for 4 years. Possibly a 5th year. We know we got this guy for sure. Because Joe Flacco doesn't deserve that huge contract he has, but he's a good quarterback. The guy won a Super Bowl. And he's better than Trent Dilfer. He won a Super Bowl. So he needs somebody to throw it to, somebody to help him out. Of course, that team does not really have the Ray Rice to help out. So in this case, you really do need a weapon. I don't know. I think that's a fine move for them to go with Jalen Strong. I do think there's too many wide receivers in this first round.
This is the Todd McShay mock draft that went very, 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 very wide receiver heavy.
Suddenly everybody needed somebody to throw to.
And I mean, the one thing I'm going to backpedal a little bit about what I said to clear it up. Jalen Strong doesn't have the speed that Torrey Smith has. The one thing he does have is that 2 inches. 2 inches on Smith. And we know from being here in Chicago, they're your favorite team.
Yeah.
I get to see enough of them because I live here in Chicago. The Bears thrived off of big wide receivers.
And even just early in the podcast, what did we say? When it comes to a wide receiver, those 2 inches matter a lot. I mean, that's a big deal right there. When you got someone who can just reach over that cornerback just a little bit more. I mean, yeah, like I said, too many wide receivers, but based on the scenario, I guess it's not bad.
I'm going to ask you another question, and this goes back to what we said. It was our my conspiracy theory that turned into our conspiracy theory for last week's podcast. Eric Armstead. He would be available at 20 if Todd McShay's latest mock draft is correct. Do you still think it's wise, though, for the Eagles to go with Landon Collins over Chip Kelly going Oregon guy? Mine.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, let's call a spade here. I picked 20. There's going to be somebody else here. The Philadelphia Eagles are not going to have this pick, but yeah, in this scenario, Chip Kelly does love his Oregon players. He really does, and he's so far. He tries to acquire them in any way he possibly can.
Does he take the Oregon player over the one guy that in many mock drafts we've gone, oh, Landon Collins, he's going to be an Eagle? If they actually make a pick at 20.
Here's the thing, Ricky. Part of me is saying, no way in hell does he do it. The other part of me is saying, oh, yeah, he's going for that Oregon player. He's going to make that Duck an Eagle.
I think it's a conspiracy theory worth looking at.
I wonder when recruiting for Oregon, if they now say, and you know, Chip Kelly is a coach in the NFL, and you know he loves to get his Eagle, or he loves to get Ducks on his team. I would use that.
Ducks grow up and they become Eagles.
That's true. And then big old winky face. But yeah, I think everything in me is saying no. Landon Collins is the right pick, but then there's a little part of me that's going, Oregon. Yeah, I think that's a Chip Kelly move.
One of the last things that we'll talk about on this podcast, going back to the running backs. What is your kind of percentage that Melvin Gordon either goes 24th to the Cardinals or 27th to the Cowboys? Todd McShay has the Cardinals going outside linebacker with Bud Dupree, and he's got Eddie Goldman, defensive tackle, going to the Cowboys. Assuming
nothing out of the ordinary has happened.
Like Adrian Peterson doesn't get traded to Arizona.
Exactly. And then, of course, also assuming that Melvin Gordon is, in fact, on the board.
Yep.
90%. He's going to one of these teams.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. Whoever gets taken by the Chargers, Gruley or Gordon, does the other one get taken by either Cardinals or the Cowboys?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, I'm very, very convinced.
Which one, Cardinals or Boys?
Cowboys. I'd say
really?
Cowboys.
You think the Cardinals are going to pass on a running back?
I think the Cardinals... Here's the thing. I don't think the Cardinals are that concerned.
I think the Cardinals need a run game.
I think they're convinced that they are a solid team and they can make this happen.
I think they need a run game, man.
We got to remember they're playing... What was it? Third string quarterback playing in the
playoff game.
So I think they're saying Carson Palmer needs to be healthy.
True.
I think that's a bigger issue for them, and I think they look at it as if Carson Palmer was there, oh man, we would have been in the Super Bowl, because that defense was a Super Bowl quality defense. The Cowboys, however, are sitting there going, the reason we got Tony Romo's a great quarterback, but the reason we got here is a guy that is no longer on our team, DeMarco Murray. He's gone. We chose Des Bryant. We stick by that choice.
Hey, not a bad choice.
Let's go get our running back now, so we can be at the same point we were last year.
It's not a bad choice.
Oh no, it was a great choice. I think it's the choice you had to make for sure. Especially because when you look at the draft, you think at 27 we're not going to get Des Bryant. But we can get DeMarco Murray 2.0.
How about this? From 28 through 32, is there anything that we need to hit? I mean, we got DJ Humphries, offensive tackle, going to the Broncos. Yeah. Outside linebacker going to the Colts. And then Packers, Saints, Patriots, all going corner.
Yeah, the corner, I think is a little... That's not going to actually be how it is. Because, I mean, That's a weird run.
Someone's going to trade up.
Yeah, that's a weird run. Either the Patriots trade out.
Patriots love to trade back.
The Saints, honestly, have quite a few things they need to do as well. They might benefit from trading out of the first round too, especially if there's somebody, because everybody's calling the Patriots.
Can I call a conspiracy theory here?
Sure.
How I'm putting my money on the Saints when the 31st pick rolls around, trading out of the first round for a team that's, let's say, in like the top 10 range, and then in the first thing on the next day of the draft, second round, the Saints going, Brett Hundley, you're going to be our backup. You're going to be our next man in line when Drew Brees is done.
What I was going to actually say was a little different. Not second round. The Saints are calling up not the Jaguars. They're calling up teams like the Jets, the Redskins, the Rams, saying, hey, I know you guys didn't get them. I'm guaranteeing you guys, people are going to be trading around, at the beginning of day 2. Do you guys want your quarterback now? Because you can have them. And I will let you pick them at 31.
Because, according to the NFL draft tracker on ESPN, the third quarterback in line is Bryce Petty, followed by Garrett Grayson, Colorado State. Brett Hundley is technically number 5, but
I think he'll jump.
But to me, I'm putting Brett Hundley at 3.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I'm putting him above Bryce Petty.
I think that one of these, we're going to see a situation similar to what you remember with Bridgewater, and we see it all the time with teams trading back into the first round for it. Because when you look at the beginning of the second round for day 2, you have teams that do need quarterbacks. Like I said, the Rams, the Jets, the Washington Redskins. The Redskins, of course, are scared that the Jets trade above them. The Jets are saying we need to trade above the Redskins. The Rams are saying we got to trade above both these guys. So there's a lot that needs to happen if one of these teams really do want a quarterback, because they all need quarterbacks. So I do think one of these teams have to go, all right, we got to make this happen. 31 is the best option, or 32. Either one. If you can get either one, is fine, but both teams are going to be willing to trade back.
Well, that is going to do it this week for the Onside Kick. Make sure to check out our Facebook page, our Twitter at Most Valuable Pod. Make sure to bookmark our website, mostvaluablepodcasts.com. Make sure to check out our sports movie bracket. We're in the Sweet 16. Check out our Patreon page as well. We got some cool rewards for you guys. Check out our other videos on YouTube. Follow me at Ricky Widmer. Mark is at with 2 E's.
Double the E's.
Mark Weber. It's been a great day just talking to you guys about some football. Let us know down below what you think about anything that we talked about in today's video/podcast, no matter where you're listening to this. And like always, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast.